If you're thinking about moving to San Antonio, there's a lot of ways to do it wrong and really just a few ways to get it right. Now, my team and I, we've helped hundreds of families relocate to the San Antonio area and find amazing homes and communities they love all around town. And what we've learned is this: moving to a brand new city does not have to be all hard and stressful. When you get access to the right information at the right time to make the right decisions, this entire process gets a whole lot easier. You might even have some fun with it. So in this video, I'm dropping real answers to the top 20 most frequently asked questions that we've been getting on this channel about moving to San Antonio. This is the Q&A session that you've been waiting for. I'm giving you everything you need to know to make an easy, stress-free move right here to the Alamo City, starting with the one thing that catches more people off guard here than anything else. So Cat Williams wants to know what areas have the lowest property taxes but still a safe area to live. That's actually a really good one to start because I've talked in a lot of my videos about how the property taxes hit a lot different here in San Antonio than what you're probably used to. If you jump into Google Maps and type in San Antonio, Texas, you'll see this red outline of what the city limits look like. Now, this probably isn't exact, but it's pretty dang close. A lot of these areas outside Loop 1604 still have a San Antonio address, but they fall just outside the city limits, giving you an opportunity to take advantage of much lower property taxes. If you buy a home within the city limits, your tax rate is usually going to be right around about 2.7%. For a $500,000 home, that's a little over $13,000 a year, which means that depending on how you structure things and how much money you put down, your property taxes could end up being as much as a third of your mortgage payment. Contrast that with the 2% you pay if you live down the county just outside city limits, and it's about a $300 a month difference in payment for the exact same home at the exact same price. Pretty crazy, right? And it's actually in these lower taxed suburban areas in the far west, the northwest, and the far north sides of San Antonio where a lot of our clients tend to settle down based on all the newer communities, the great schools, and a sense of safety that they feel from all the gated neighborhoods as well. Sean Young wants to know, do you like Alamo Ranch or Stone Oak better? This one's a really good question too, because a lot of the people reaching out to us about moving to San Antonio are usually comparing these two communities to each other, mainly because they're both the largest and the most recognizable neighborhoods in two very popular but very different sides of the city. Full disclosure though, I actually live out in the Alamo Ranch area in the far west side of San Antonio, so I'm a little bit biased, but they're both really cool places to live, and I think it really just comes down to what you're looking for in a neighborhood. Now, I happen to think that Stone Oak is a prettier place to live just because of all the hills, the higher elevations, and the views that you get from being up in that part of town. Whereas Alamo Ranch in the far west side is generally a lot more flat with less mature landscaping because of all the newer subdivisions going in recently. The overall cost of living is slightly higher in Stone Oak because it does fall within city limits, so you've got that higher property tax rate in the 2.7% range, and you do pay a little more for all that beauty with slightly higher HOA costs of all the gated communities up in there as well. Matter of fact, in some sections, you can actually end up paying into as many as 2 or 3 different HOAs depending on how your subdivision is cut. Contrast that with Alamo Ranch in the far west side, and you'll see that almost everywhere out here still falls outside city limits, so your property taxes are more like 2% out here. And even with the lower HOA costs, a lot of these newer subdivisions still have some pretty amazing amenities too. The school systems on both sides of town are both exemplary rated, although Reagan High School and Stone Oak outranks pretty much everyone else. But the biggest difference that you'll find is going to be in the ages, the styles, and in the price points of the homes in these two areas. Stone Oak's about 15 to 20 years older and completely built out with entry-level homes starting down in the low 400,000s, ranging all the way up to $1 million estates on hilltops with views so far you can see downtown San Antonio on a really clear day. Out in the Alamo Ranch area, you'll still find brand new homes starting in the low 300,000s with pricing topping out in the mid 800,000s. The area is a lot newer, and right now there's still several new developments in different phases of completion. If you're really looking for affordability and great schools, as well as newer homes with some of the best neighborhood amenities in the entire city, I'm telling you, Alamo Ranch in the far west side is where it's at. But for the people who are willing to pay a little extra for the location, for the scenery, and for the exclusivity that comes from living in the Stone Oak area, they'll tell you there's nowhere else in San Antonio they'd rather live. Lily Andrews wants to know, how much are the HOAs? Really, the HOA dues are kind of crazy when you think about all the amenities that you'll find in most of the suburban areas around San Antonio. I mean, you've got everything from large pools with splash pads and sport courts to walking trails and large green spaces, and even lifestyle directors that organize community activities with food trucks, block parties, and neighborhood garage sales. Now, I can already hear a lot of y'all out there talking about how you ain't trying to be in no HOA with a whole bunch of rules and stuff, which, first of all, let me get one thing straight. This is Texas, and as I'm sure you already know, down here in Texas, we don't really like being told what to do. More than anything, the HOAs here are mainly just about keeping up with the aesthetic of the neighborhood. If you ain't trying to keep your grass cut, or if you want to paint your house pink or purple or something, HOA probably gonna be like,
we don't do that here.
Other than that, you're probably going to be cool. Unless, of course, you want like goats and chickens or something like that. That's going to be a hard no. But the good news about the HOAs here in San Antonio is that most of them are in the $300 to $600 a year range, which really tends to surprise a lot of people. They be like, hold up, Greg, that's only like $25 to $50 a month. And I'd be like, I know, right? Expat Lifestyle wants to know, what are the areas with the most jobs? I want to move close so I can take the bus or walk. The areas with most of the major employers in San Antonio are going to be the Northwest, the Far West, and the Far North parts of the city, and people living in these areas typically enjoy shorter commute times to work. Northwest San Antonio is along I-10 from Loop 410 all the way out past Loop 1604, and right up in there, you've got the Texas Medical Center with a number of major area hospitals and clinics. There's the corporate campus for USAA and the main campus for UTSA right off of Loop 1604, along with the corporate headquarters for Valero Energy right next door. On the far west side, we see a lot of the main operation complexes for large financial institutions and insurance companies like Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, Citibank, Frost Bank, and Nationwide Insurance. Then in far north San Antonio, we have more jobs in the medical field with Methodist Hospital, Baptist Hospital, and the Children's Hospital, all right there in the Stone Oak Medical Complex, along with even more jobs in the energy field with the corporate headquarters for Marathon Petroleum right off of Highway 281. Then, of course, there's the 4 military bases that we have here with Lackland Air Force Base, Camp Bullis, Randolph Air Force Base, and Fort Sam Houston. Now, you can check out this video right here if you want a full breakdown of the highest paying jobs and all the major employers here in the San Antonio area. We see a lot of people making decisions about where they live based on where they're going to end up working and the type of community that they feel most comfortable with. This video right here gives you a whole lot to think about when it comes to figuring out which neighborhood you want to live in. Vince Santos asked, do you need to speak Spanish? Well, the short answer is no, but guess what?
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Now, personally, I can barely order my breakfast tacos in Spanish, and I get along out here just fine. I'd be like, no, I'm not even about to embarrass myself on here like that right now. But the city does have a super rich history and Spanish culture that influences just about every aspect of living here. From the food and the architecture on down to the customs and the family-oriented vibe, it's what draws a lot of people to the area. But if all you can do is count to 10 and barely order your food just like me, you're probably going to be fine. Justin Wells says, you had me at breakfast tacos. My man. So in case you haven't heard, the breakfast taco game is super strong in San Antonio, Texas. Now, personally, I'm an asada bean and cheese kind of guy myself. But we take breakfast tacos super seriously out here. So much so that these food truck folks and the restaurant staff be looking at you real sideways if you try to make any substitutions from what you see on the menu. Because what you see is what you get. And while we're here on the topic, it's come to my attention that there's this ongoing debate between Texans and Californians about who has the best Mexican food. And I just wanted to take a moment here to clear the air. Now, I know a lot of y'all out there in California be feeling a certain kind of way about y'all's Mexican food, but I just want to make sure I said one thing straight.
This is Texas!
Unless you're sitting in Mexico right now while you watching this, I promise you, your Mexican food ain't better than the Mexican food in Texas, okay? Matter of fact, I heard y'all put French fries in y'all's burritos out there in California. Omega 9 asks, does it flood a lot in Helotes? I've heard some people say San Antonio area often floods. Nah, flooding isn't really an issue in Helotes or in many other parts of San Antonio either. Now, in some of those hilly spots like Helotes, you do see more flood gauges on some of the farm roads out there because with all of those hills, you do tend to get a lot of lower lying areas for the water to drain into. For as much as it rains out here in San Antonio, the drainage and the sewer systems actually do a really good job out here. Now, if you want to make sure you avoid flood-prone cities in Texas, then Houston is really the one that you got to watch out for. BG wants to know, is it possible to get pre-approved for a home in San Antonio but still have an employer in a different state? My family would be moving in San Antonio and I would be working in California. We've actually helped a lot of our clients do exactly that, so it's totally doable if that's something you want to look into. In fact, a few of the things that my team covers in their initial consultation is timing around your employment and move dates, along with a few financing guidelines when we're helping people put a plan together for relocating. Now, we're realtors and not loan officers, okay? So we do have folks that we can refer you to that have a much deeper discussion around your financing strategies. But in scenarios where you're looking to buy a place in Texas without a job or income in the state, we usually recommend that you look into a second home purchase. We've had folks go that route when only part of the family was moving here, like you mentioned, and also other clients that are looking to buy here before they actually have a job secured locally. It doesn't really matter if you currently own a home or if you're just renting in your current state. Lenders just consider it a second home purchase for the loan product when you're buying a home in an area where you're not drawing income from there yet. You do have to go conventional with at least 10 to 15% down, so that cuts out government insured loans like FHA and VA, and the interest rate is quite a bit higher, so it's definitely something to think about. For a lot of our clients, going the route of a second home purchase made a lot of sense because it allowed them the opportunity to secure a home here while still giving them the flexibility they were looking for around their job search, when they put their home on the market, and ultimately when they decided to move here. So Grandma Johnson says, thanks for the video. Love the content. He likes all these new communities going up in the area. However, with newer communities comes less space between neighbors. Where should I be looking if I want a bit more space, but also have that community feel? Good schools are important, of course, too. So this is a common question we get from a lot of people out here too, because there's all this talk about all the affordability in San Antonio and Texas in general, especially when you compare it to some of the higher cost areas on the East Coast and the West Coast. But that's mainly if you want to be living in a subdivision. You can still get a really nice home here starting in the low $300,000 to $400,000 range for something that's either brand new, recently built, or in a master plan community. The real issue here though is that most subdivisions only have about a 5-foot setback from the side lot line, which means that you pretty much end up with another house just about 10 feet away from yours. And it doesn't really matter if you're in the $300,000 or even the $600,000 price range, your neighbors are basically right there. If you're looking for something with a half-acre home site or bigger, you actually have to go a little further out into the outskirts of San Antonio. Some good places to look are out further west towards Medina Lake, out towards Bernie along I-10, or further north along Highway 281 out towards Spring Branch and Bulverde. These areas really are beautiful with some amazing views of the Texas Hill Country, and you've got access to great school systems out there too. You just have to be willing to pay for something like that because the larger home sites with newer homes in these areas typically start somewhere in the low 700,000s, and then they jump up pretty quick from there. John Zeke says, one of the reasons I'm moving to Texas is that as a disabled vet at max level, I don't have to pay any property taxes. There are military bases for me to shop for sales, tax-free goods. I laugh at the idea of heat. I live in Minnesota, and no matter how hot it gets, your car doesn't slip into a ditch and kill you. This one right here is actually a really big deal for a lot of our military clients. For those of y'all that don't know, you're looking at some serious discounts on your property taxes if you have a service-related disability rating, and in some cases bring your property tax liability all the way down to zero. We've had clients able to increase their purchase price anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 more once their property taxes were pulled out and still keep their payment exactly the same. And a lot of times it's been a major deciding factor for our military clients choosing to move to Texas. They're literally saving thousands and thousands of dollars a year. Oh, and on a side note, I actually grew up in Kansas, and while I'm sure the winters there aren't as severe as the winters in Minnesota, we'd still get snow and freezing rain well into March. So I felt that whole slide into a ditch thing down in my soul. Rage Quit asks, how are the tornadoes and the hurricanes in San Antonio? I'm gonna go ahead and throw this one up here one more time.
We don't do that here.
A lot of the severe weather in Texas actually misses San Antonio for the most part. Out in West Texas, it's all dry and you've got these crazy dust storms. And then further up north in Dallas is where you usually see a lot more of the tornadoes and large size hail. And then over in Houston is where you tend to see more of the hurricanes and the flooding with them being so close to the Gulf. Not that we don't get hail and some strong thunderstorms in San Antonio, it's just that we're fortunate in the sense that it's not near as extreme out here as it is in other parts of the state. So Julie Smith says, you said about the seasons being 2 summers. She wants to know, how are the winter months? So this goes back to one of my other videos where I said something like,
We do have all 4 seasons. There's fall, spring, summer 1, and summer 2.
That's all just to say that it's either warm, hot, or really hot in San Antonio for most of the year. My wife and I grew up in the Midwest, so the first time we went back to school shopping out here, we made the mistake of buying our kids all these jeans and long sleeve shirts and hoodies. And then, of course, we ended up with highs in the mid-90s all the way through Thanksgiving. I can still remember one of the first Halloweens out here when my wife got all extra fancy and ordered me and our youngest daughter some custom Beauty and the Beast costumes. Not only could I not see anything in that mask, and she had to lead me around half blind most of the night, but I swear I lost like 10 pounds sweating out in that thing because it was like 85 degrees that night. We did win best costume in the contest that night though. Most winters here are really mild though, with highs in the mid-50s on through February, and you do get a few nights here where it'll drop down into the low 30s. At least that's what I've been saying to people until we got this freaking nature snowstorm a few years back that basically shut down the whole state of Texas for an entire week. At first it was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Kids, look at the snow, play in the snow, be one with the snow. And everyone was happy. Oh yeah, and then there was also that one guy that was rolling through our neighborhood on his 4-wheeler doing donuts in the cul-de-sacs. And then the power went out and didn't come back on for like 3 days. Crazy thing though is that it was over just as fast as it started. Weatherman was like, Wednesday, 18 degrees outside and miserable. Thursday, 76 degrees outside and beautiful. Other than that one freak event that we'll probably never see again in our whole lifetime, the winters out here in San Antonio are usually pretty chill. That kid's son asked for a video on the crime rate in San Antonio. This one is actually the top question that our team gets when people reach out to us about moving here. Now, as a realtor, I've got this code of ethics thing that I have to follow, which kind of prohibits me from saying things like this neighborhood is good and that neighborhood is bad. However, what I can say is that when people reach out to us about moving here, just about everyone says the exact same thing. They all want to live in a nice, safe neighborhood with good schools, and in most cases, they want to be in a newer community with homes built in the last 10 to 15 years, and sometimes maybe as far back as 20 years. And with that criteria in mind, almost everyone that we've helped relocate to San Antonio has moved to one of three places. We see a lot of people head out to the far west side, just outside Loop 1604 by SeaWorld, for all of the newer home communities and some of the best affordability that you're going to find anywhere in the entire city. Then there's the northwest side around Helotes and the La Cantera area outside Loop 1604 along I-10. Right up in there, you've got this cool mix of a slower pace country vibe with Helotes, and then this high-end lifestyle in the La Cantera area with some of the best shopping, dining, and luxury communities in all of San Antonio. And finally, there's the far north side outside Loop 1604, just on the other side of Highway 281. Folks didn't move out here mainly for the highly rated schools in the Northeast Independent School District and the sense of safety they feel with all the gated communities in the area. So Darren wants to know if the traffic here is bad, like California bad. So here's the deal. If you ask most locals in San Antonio about the traffic, they're probably going to tell you that it's terrible. But if you ask me, it's nothing compared to the traffic in Austin, Dallas, or Houston. And we also work with a lot of people moving here from out of state who say that the traffic here is nothing compared to wherever it is that they came from, especially my California people. And it has a lot to do with the way that our highway systems are set up down here. You can literally drive from one side of town all the way to the other in the 7th largest city in the country with a couple million people here. You can drive 20 miles from one side of San Antonio all the way clear to the other side of the metro and get there in like 30 or 40 minutes flat, pretty much any time of day, even in rush hour. I tell that to my California peeps and they be like, oh. I ain't trying to be funny, but I heard in California, it takes y'all like 45 minutes just to cross the street. Michael Hughes says, I'm interviewing for a job in New Braunfels. Assuming I get the job and choose to live in San Antonio, would the commute be difficult? Man, you could totally make that work. And in fact, a lot of people do. It's only about a 45-minute drive from downtown San Antonio to downtown New Braunfels, so you've got quick access to everything available to you in both cities. We've also had a lot of people who work in Austin giving New Braunfels a serious look because of the much better affordability that you're going to find in that area. I will say, though, that if you're planning to live in San Antonio while working in New Braunfels, then you want to focus your home search down to just a few areas. The far north side outside Loop 1604 is a really good option for quick access to Highway 281 north and then Highway 46 heading east on into New Braunfels. And then the northeast side of San Antonio is also a really good option for a quick shot up I-35 right into New Braunfels as well. Either way, though, you're probably looking about a 30 to 45 minute commute if you're having to deal with rush hour traffic. Genevieve B wants to know, what are some things that people can't know about San Antonio unless you live there? And what are some things that people don't tell you about San Antonio? For me, I'd have to say that it's the culture and the vibe here. I mean, you can't really know what that's like until you experience it firsthand when you get here. And I promise y'all, I'm not trying to get all woo on everybody. And I know that sometimes it's hard to put words to a feeling, but I'm telling you, it's just a different kind of energy out here in San Antonio. And it's why when I'm putting these videos together, I like to drive through the neighborhoods and show off the homes and the trails and the amenities. It's why I throw the drone up in the air so you can see the landscapes with the hills and the sunsets, all the parks and the lakes and the fun stuff to do here. This city really is beautiful, and it has such a major impact on how people feel when they live out here. When people reach out to our team about moving to San Antonio, one of the first things that we always like to ask people is if you've been here before, because if you have, then you know firsthand exactly what I'm talking about. More than anything, though, it's really the people here that make San Antonio what it is, and you don't have to take my word for it. Every video on this channel is full of comments from people that just love this city. Strongo says, I've lived here for 2 years now. It's awesome for me. This city is peaceful. People are really friendly and respectful. There's lots to do and lots of food to eat. The city is growing bigger. There's lots of opportunity here. Lazarus Salazar says, we moved here 4 months ago and absolutely love it. We live in Alamo Ranch. My wife and I love the schools, and my son is just excited to go. And like you said, the economy is incredible. If you're not working, it's because you don't want to. And then Jaime Santillan says, great video. I love San Antonio. And looking at your video, I want to tell you that most of the things you mentioned are spot on. One more thing, San Antonio is like 4 different cities in one. Depending on what side of the city you're in, there's different customs and different neighborhoods here too. As older folks know the difference, it can tell what side of the city you live on based on how you talk and act. People just really love living here, and it's one of those things that you really just have to experience for yourself in order to fully understand that. And you really can't appreciate just how bad the fire ants are out here until you get to San Antonio and you have one of them little things start chewing on you. Sarah Ortiz says, "Hi, Greg. My husband and I are relocating from Boston, Massachusetts. Haven't heard much about the healthcare systems. It's extremely important to us for personal reasons for one of our boys. I like what I've heard about this area of San Antonio. Can you please provide your own insights regarding healthcare? Thanks." So the healthcare systems here in San Antonio are actually really strong, and that's one of the main questions that we've had from a lot of our clients either in or nearing retirement as well. We're actually home to the Texas Medical Center, which serves as the hub for medical research, technology, and innovation in the South Texas region. The Stone Oak Medical Center on the far north side has a couple of large area hospitals with North Central Baptist and Methodist Hospital, along with the Children's Hospital of San Antonio. Out on the far west side, you have the Christa Santa Rosa Hospital, along with several smaller clinics and newer hospitals in the Westover Hills Business District, which is actually where our oldest daughter went for physical therapy a few years ago after surgery on her shoulder from a basketball injury. And on a more personal level, our youngest daughter actually has a super rare condition in her right eye, and we were really fortunate to connect with some amazing eye doctors at a private practice here in town. They put together a specific game plan to not only help her retain, but also dramatically improve her vision as well. And now she's just out here 17 years old, driving around in these streets like it ain't nothing. All that's just to say that I really think you're going to find everything that you're looking for here medically, and would be happy to have any further conversations with you about questions you might have before moving your family out here. Cullen McCormick asks, "What's so good about HEB? I'm moving to San Antonio in a month." Okay, Cullen, I hope you're watching this, bro, because I'm about to put you on game and what this HEB thing is really all about. First of all, HEB is the single best grocery store chain in the universe. And it's mainly because it's a Texas thing, and we all know that everything is better down here in Texas. Now, we got a lot of people reaching out about San Antonio who are also thinking about moving to Florida. And trust me, you really don't want to do that. I mean, I get it. Florida's got all this pretty sunshine and all these amazing beaches, but Florida also has hurricanes, big snakes, and alligators. And if you're not careful, you might just end up shopping at one of them other grocery store chains thinking you're really doing something, when really you could have just moved down here to Texas and had a life-changing experience every time you need to go pick up some bread, milk, and eggs. And in case you think I'm hyping things up, we tell clients all the time that it's basically a wasted trip to San Antonio if you don't take time to visit at least one HEB in the area that you plan on moving to. And they be so mind-blown that they even take selfies standing outside of HEB and send them to us. Seriously though, I wish I could find the words to truly articulate the awesomeness that is HEB, but it's kind of like trying to explain what love is. You just know it when you feel it. Jason DeBrock says, "Watching your videos really makes me and my wife excited to PCS 2 and settle down for good in San Antonio." Now, this one right here is probably one of my favorite comments on the channel so far. Not only do we see a lot of active duty folks PCSing in and out of San Antonio with the 4 military bases we have here, but we also help a lot of retired service members who are moving here as well. Many of which who either went to basic training here or were stationed in San Antonio at some point in the past, fell in love with the city, and made it a goal of theirs to move back here whenever they could. And with San Antonio affectionately known as Military City USA, there's all kinds of opportunities for folks to make a home here, to take advantage of DoD and civil service job opportunities here, and either raise a family or settle down in retirement in a city that truly appreciates them for the service and the sacrifices they've made for this country. Yara Joy wants to know, how far in advance should a person start looking if they're thinking about relocating? We tell most people that if you're thinking about relocating anytime in the next 6 months to a year, then it's really a good idea to go ahead and just reach out to our team, start the conversation, and really get a plan together to see what it looks like to move out here and how to get a smooth transition. We've got people that we're working with right now that we first started talking to over a year ago. When I think back to when it was like moving to San Antonio, I just know that my family and I, we would have really appreciated having somebody that we could talk to ahead of time to keep us on the loop and let us know what was going on out here. So if you're thinking about moving to San Antonio and you want to know what that process might look like, or maybe you've got more questions on what it's like to live out here, my team and I, we're helping our clients find amazing homes in communities they love all around the city, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or click the link in the description to schedule a Zoom call with a member of my team. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back in San Antonio, Texas.